Welcome to Common Sense Rhode Island. This is a program where we try to make sense out of the policies that affect your life and come up with common sense solutions. I'm Representative Patricia Morgan, and today we have with us Mayor Scott Avedisian, who is almost 20 years here in the city of Warwick.
Correct. Yep.
And he has been doing really great things in the city.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about a couple of the things today, but we're going to start with something that I'm sure most of you don't know about, but which I think is just a really strong program to help people, and that is your recovery program.
Right. We a few years ago we realized that people who are getting released from the ACI to come back into this community really needed to have some services brought to them. So the creation of a Kent County Re-Entry Council was really, really important. So when we know someone is going to be released or is coming onto probation or parole, we make sure that they get an invitation to come to the police department.
Okay, so you, the ACI informs you that a person has served their time and is getting ready to get out, is that it?
Correct, or being released to either probation or parole.
And so you work with their probation officer,
Yep.
the parole, or the people in the prison, or all of them?
All of them. So
To let them know, we know you're coming home.
right.
We want to help.
We want to help, and I'll tell you, the first couple times that someone gets a letter, they're a little nervous. They're saying the only thing they want to do is find out where I live so that they can catch me doing something and re-incarcerate me. So it was a little bit of a learning curve for everybody at the beginning, but having everyone in the room, all of our social service providers, they said, we can, first of all, we want you to succeed. For whatever you did, you paid your time and you did what you needed to do, and now you're back in our community, so what can we do to make it work?
Yeah, let's make sure that you stay on the straight and narrow,
Right.
and you don't go back. Going back doesn't help anybody.
It doesn't do anything. It destroys that family even further. It rips the family apart, leaves a person who's being re-incarcerated in trouble and alienated from everything else in the community. So what we try to do is have all of our social service agencies there to say, okay, I need some job training skills, so this one can help with that. I need to make sure that I get some health care, so we get people qualified.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get them to the health center, or there are lots of things that we can offer and that we can do to keep people doing the right thing in a community.
I tell you, you invited me to go to one of those meetings, so I went. I guess it was in May, in the early May, and I was amazed. There were unfortunately a lot of people there. You're a big city, so
And we have a lot of affordable housing stock, so that may, and
a lot of
apartment.
people were there, but the police were there to say one of the real strong messages is we don't want you to go back.
Right. We want you to
Right.
be part of this community.
We want you to be productive,
Right.
to have a good life. We don't want you to go back into prison.
Right.
So we have to do certain things by probation
Right.
to check on you, but we're not checking on you to send you back.
Right. And I think that's the message that it took a while to get people to understand, but we're not trying to be punitive. What we're saying is, we know you're going to live in our community. What can we do to make sure that you don't reoffend and you don't end up in trouble again?
Right, yeah. And then you had, the probation officer was there. Really straightforward woman. I
Yeah.
was impressed.
She's great.
I just was impressed with the information she was giving. It was straightforward, it was clear, and it was intended to be helpful.
Right.
Let's not have you go back.
And I think what people understood was that when you came back into the community and you were isolated.
Or back with the same environment that got you into trouble in the
Correct.
first time, right? So you had people from some of the community organizations. I'm trying to think who all of them were.
We had West Bay Community Action. We had Bridgemark for someone who was looking for help with addiction issues. So we try to make sure all the social service components are there so that when they come back to our community or to our community for the first time, that it's an experience where they're going to be able to sustain themselves in their apartment or in their home and do the right thing, get the job training, go to work, be productive members of the community again.
Yeah, get on the right path.
Right, and I think we've seen way too often that someone comes out, has no support, reoffends, becomes a recidivist, goes back to jail, and the cycle doesn't get broken, and then it becomes a real problem for society as a whole. So we
Well,
try to look at it.
Every year they spend in prison costs a lot.
Right.
Not just to the taxpayers who are paying for the tab in the prison, but for the loss of that person's
Gifts
abilities.
to our community.
That's right. I think that everybody has something to give, something to offer, and we just need to put them in the right spot. So I know there was a lady there, I guess it was West Bay.
Community action.
Who was helping them with just the necessities of
Yep.
life. You need food stamps,
Yep.
to begin with at least. You know, you need a place to stay. If you don't want to go back to the same bad situation, let us help you find
Correct.
a place.
And
And then it was about clothes to wear
Yep.
to an interview.
Absolutely, and how to interview, and we'll help you look at what your skills are. They'll help do resumes. I mean, our goal is, if you're going to live in our community, we want it to be as pleasant an experience for you, but also for us as well. And now you hear the attitude has changed. The first time that someone came to one of those meetings, they were fearful that we were only looking to find out where they lived so we could arrest them. Now you see that their attitude is they will even be calling us to say, hey, you know what, a quality of life issue in my neighborhood. You have the same kids who are drag racing down the street all the time, and here are the license plate numbers. So the change can be pretty dramatic, of being someone who felt alienated from the community to really being part of it.
And that was the tone at that meeting. I'll be honest with you, it wasn't, they weren't there to be read the riot act one more time. You know, if you step over the line, we're going to be there, we're going to catch you. It was more, how can we help you to change your life around?
Well, and that's...
And it's at the right time. They've just coming out of prison. They can't have possibly liked that.
No, but also that now that's when we want to say to them, regardless of what happened and why you went away, here's a new beginning. And so let's do it correctly this time.
Yeah. So do you get feedback from some of the people who attend those meetings? Do you ever get... you have a community police unit.
Correct. We have community police officers in different segments of the city, so they're divided up into districts. And we get more feedback from family members of someone who has been released back into the community. This graduation season, while being on the stage at one of our high school graduations, a student who was graduating stepped and said, if you guys weren't there, my family would have fallen apart, but you helped us when Dad came back from the ACI. That means, that's to me the real example of how you build community. And that family is intact because of the programs that we were able to help bring to that family and kept them.
And you want them not to offend again.
Right.
Right? I tell you, one of the things that, I was there for a reason, and the parole officer got up and asked this question to people in the audience, and there probably were 35 people, said, how many of you have overdosed or know somebody who has? And 80% of the hands went up. It was sobering.
When you think of the fact that we are losing more than 100 people a year in this state, just from the opioid addiction issue alone, and there's got to be some moral outrage about that.
About the deaths, but also about the loss of people's productivity.
Ruins lives. You watch people who really were producing really well and doing well all have everything fall apart.
Yeah. We're going to leave it at that, and we'll be right back.